Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to unlock one of the most powerful yet simple tools for looking at a business. We're going to break down a single number that basically acts like a company's financial report card. It tells you if they're an A-plus student or maybe just barely getting by. So let's start with the big question, right? How can you really tell if a company is winning with the money you as an investor put into it? Are they actually using your capital to generate real hard profit? Well, it turns out there's a specific metric that gives us that exact answer. And that metric is called return on equity, or just ROE for short. Seriously, think of it as the final grade on that company's report card. It tells you a whole story about how efficient they are, their profitability, and even how skilled their management is, all packed into one simple percentage. So what is it really? At its heart, ROE is all about efficiency. It measures how good a company is at turning the money its shareholders have invested into actual profit. It's not just about how much money they make, but about how well they make it with the resources they have. I absolutely love this way of thinking about it because it makes it so personal. For any investor, ROE answers a simple question. If you put 1 rupee of your own money into this company, how many paise of profit does it actually generate for you in a year? See, it makes the whole concept really tangible. So, when you see a company that keeps a high ROE year after year, it's sending a super clear signal. It's a sign of a healthy, well-run business. It shows they're using their capital smartly, and most importantly, they're creating real, sustainable value for the people who own the company, the shareholders. Okay, so now you're probably wondering, how do we actually calculate this powerful number? Don't worry, the math is actually way more straightforward than you might think. Let's break down the formula piece by piece. And here it is. The formula just has two main parts. You take the company's net income and you divide it by its shareholders' equity. That's it. Simple, right? But the real magic comes from understanding what these two things actually are. First up, net income. You've probably heard people talk about the bottom line, right? Well, this is literally it. It's the pure profit that's left over after every single cost has been paid. We're talking salaries, materials, interest on loans, taxes, the whole shebang. This number tells you the company's true, unvarnished profitability. And the second part of that formula is shareholders' equity. The easiest way to think about this is like the company's net worth. It's the value of the company that's actually funded by its owners, either from their original investment or from profits that were reinvested back into the business, instead of being funded by, debt from a bank. And the math behind it is super simple. You just take everything the company owns, its assets, and you subtract everything it owes, its liabilities. Whatever is left over, that's the equity. That's the value that truly belongs to the owners. Okay, so we know what ROE is and we know how to calculate it, but now for the really important part. What do the numbers actually mean in the real world? Let's switch gears and talk about how to interpret this stuff and how to use ROE to spot the truly great companies. This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? We have a number, but is it a good number? Is it something to get excited about? Well, while context is everything, and we'll get to that in a second, there are some pretty solid benchmarks we can use as a starting point. So, as a general rule of thumb, an ROE that's consistently over 15% is considered pretty strong. Now, if you find a company that's pushing above 20% year in and year out, wow, you might be looking at a truly exceptional business. On the flip side, an ROE that's hanging out below 10% could be a sign of some underlying weakness. But, and this is a really, really big but, context is king. You just can't compare apples to oranges. For example, a tech company that doesn't need a lot of physical stuff can't be compared to a giant manufacturing company that has to build huge factories. So the key takeaway here is to always compare a company's ROE to its direct competitors in the same industry. Now here's where things get really interesting, and it's a trap a lot of people fall into. A high ROE is not automatically a good thing. A healthy high ROE comes from the right places: strong, real profits, and just being super efficient with what they have. That's the dream combo you're looking for. But here's the trap. A company can actually cheat its way to a high ROE by taking on a mountain of debt. Remember the formula? If you load up on debt, the shareholders' equity part, the denominator, gets smaller. And when the denominator gets smaller, the ROE number looks bigger, even if the business isn't actually any more profitable. This is a huge red flag. It's a sign of risk, not strength.
All right, let's bring it all home. How does a smart investor actually use this metric to make better decisions? This is the checklist that separates a basic analysis from a really savvy one.
First things first, and this might be the most important rule of all, you've got to look for consistency. Legendary investors like Warren Buffett, they absolutely love companies with stable, predictable profits. A sudden, one-time spike in ROE could just be a fluke. What you want to find are businesses that prove they can deliver the goods year after year after year. Just take a look at this chart. It makes it crystal clear. Company A is showing this beautiful, steady upward climb. That suggests a stable, predictable, well-managed business. But Company B, it's all over the place. Sure, that huge 25% spike looks great on its own, but the volatility points to some serious potential risk. So when you boil it all down, think of ROE as an investor's multi-tool. It helps you find those high-quality businesses. It lets you compare direct competitors side by side. It gives you a peek into how good the management team is, and it helps you understand a company's real potential to grow your wealth over the long haul.
And that's return on equity. It's so much more than just a number on a spreadsheet. It's a story about a company's quality and its ability to create real value. So, the only question left is, with this powerful new lens, what's the first business you're going to go analyze? All right, so today we're going to pull back the curtain on how a company is really doing. Get past those big, flashy headline numbers to find out what's actually going on. And we're going to do that with a super powerful tool called the DuPont analysis. Okay, so picture this. You're scanning the market and you spot a company with a whopping 45% return on equity, ROE. Your first instinct is probably jackpot. This is the one. But here's the real question. Is that one number enough to bet your hard-earned money on? Well, here's the thing. A single number, even a really impressive one like ROE, can be seriously misleading. It's kind of like judging a book by its cover, right? You see a cool design, but you have no idea if the story's any good. To make a smart move, we've got to pop the hood and see what's actually making that engine run. And that, my friends, is where the DuPont analysis comes in. Seriously, think of it as your own personal financial detective's kit. It's what lets us take that one big ROE number, break it into pieces, and really investigate where those earnings are coming from. The real beauty of this whole thing is how simple it is. It shows us that a company's ROE isn't just one magic number. It's actually made up of three core parts, all working together. So let's build this formula out, piece by piece. Okay, first up, and this is the most obvious one, we've got profitability. This is the foundation, right? It's all about how much actual profit a company makes on its sales. It just makes sense. The more profitable you are, the higher your returns should be. But it's not just about profit. The next piece of the puzzle is efficiency. We take that profitability and we multiply it by how efficiently the company uses its assets, its stuff like buildings and inventory, to actually make sales. Think about it. A company can be a huge success if it manages to sell a ton of product with very little overhead. And the final ingredient we mix in is leverage. Now, this one is basically an amplifier. It tells us how much the company is relying on debt to pay for all its assets. It can take those good results from profitability and efficiency and just magnify them. But, and this is a big but, it can work both ways, for better or for worse. And just like that, we have our complete formula. So, quick recap. The three drivers, our three big clues, are net profit margin for profitability, asset turnover for efficiency, and the equity multiplier for leverage. Got it? Awesome. Now let's put on our detective hats and dig into what each of these really means. All right, time to examine the clues and see what kind of story they're telling us. First on the list is profitability, which we measure with net profit margin. The math is easy, it's just net income divided by revenue. But what does that really tell you? It tells you for every single dollar the company makes in sales, how many cents it gets to keep as pure profit after everything else is paid for. And you can really see the difference it makes. A high margin? That usually means the company can charge what it wants, or it's just amazing at keeping costs down. But a low margin? That could be a red flag. It might mean they're in a brutal competitive market, or their costs are just way too high. This is clue number one. Okay, clue number two is all about efficiency, and we measure this with asset turnover. You calculate it by taking revenue and dividing it by total assets. In plain English, it just shows how good a company is at using its stuff, its factories, its inventory, you name it, to actually ring up sales. And again, the difference is huge.
A high turnover is awesome. It means the company's getting a ton of bang for its buck. They're probably running a tight ship with lean inventory and machines that are always working. On the flip side, a low turnover could mean they have expensive equipment just sitting there, collecting dust. And that's usually a big sign of mismanagement.
And that brings us to our final clue, leverage. We use something called the equity multiplier for this, which is just total assets divided by equity. So what's that about? It's really just a way to see how much of the company is being paid for with debt versus how much is funded by the owners themselves. The higher the number, the more debt they're using.
Now, you absolutely have to remember that leverage is a double-edged sword, for sure. On one hand, it can juice up your returns and help the company grow like crazy. But on the other hand, it adds a ton of financial risk. If a company takes on too much debt, it can become super vulnerable, especially if the economy takes a nosedive. Okay, we've got our toolkit, we know what clues to look for, so now let's put it all together and go back to that original mystery. It's time to crack this case. So, remember where we started? We had Company A with that amazing 45% ROE, and then Company B with a pretty good but not as flashy 30% ROE. A little while ago, we probably would have just jumped straight for Company A, right? But not anymore. Now we know we have to look deeper. Okay, let's look at the actual numbers. Company A, yeah, it has a better profit margin, 15%. But look at its equity multiplier. It's 2.0. That means half of everything it owns is paid for with debt. Now, check out Company B. Sure, its profit margin is a little lower, but look at that asset turnover, a crazy 2.5x. They are an efficiency machine. And its equity multiplier is way down at 1.2. They're just not relying on debt nearly as much. So what's the final verdict here? Well, Company A's fantastic ROE is being propped up by a whole lot of debt. That's risky. Company B, on the other hand, is getting its solid return because it is just incredibly efficient at what it does. Its success is built on a much more stable, much more sustainable foundation. All of a sudden, the better investment is a lot more obvious, isn't it? See what we just did there? We didn't just talk theory. We used a really powerful, practical tool that you can, and should, add to your own investor toolkit. So how do you actually use this? Well, you can use it to diagnose why a company's ROE is high or low. You can use it to compare two companies in a much more meaningful way. You can use it to see just how much risk a company is taking on with its debt. And maybe the most important thing, you can use it to figure out if those great returns are the real deal or just a house of cards. At the end of the day, it really all boils down to this simple idea. Anybody can look at an ROE number and get a quick snapshot. But with the DuPont analysis, you get the whole story. And when you're investing, knowing the whole story, well, that makes all the difference in the world.
Today, we are diving deep into one of the most powerful metrics out there for any investor, return on equity, or ROE. You know, it's just a single number, but if you know how to read it, it tells you this huge, unfolding story about a company's performance. So let's kick things off with a question every investor has asked.
You've been there, right? You find a company, the profits are climbing, they've got a fantastic product, it just looks like a sure thing. But the real question, the one that truly matters, is how efficiently is that company making money for you, the person who owns a piece of it? That's the billion-dollar question. And honestly, ROE is the key that unlocks the answer.
So what is this thing exactly? Well, to put it really simply, ROE tells you how much profit a company is cranking out for every single dollar that shareholders have invested. It's not just about, making money. It's about how good a company is at using your investment to create real, tangible value. You could almost call it the ultimate measure of capital efficiency. So in this explainer, we're going to build up your expertise step by step. First, we're going to figure out what a good ROE even looks like. Then, we'll learn how to read the story it tells over time, see why comparing it to others is so important, learn to spot the hidden red flags, and finally, we'll wrap it all up with a super practical investor checklist you can use.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. You've looked up a company's ROE. You have a number. Great. But is it a good number? Is it a bad number? To figure that out, we first need to calibrate our tool.
Now, this table right here gives us a really solid place to start. See that 20% plus range? That is exceptional territory. I mean, it's basically shouting that the company's management team are masters at turning shareholder cash into profits.
15 to 20% is still really, really healthy, but once you start dipping below that 10% mark, well, that's when you should probably start asking some pretty tough questions. But here is the catch, and trust me, it's a big one. These numbers, they're just guidelines. A good ROE is absolutely not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. The bottom line is, and always will be, context is everything.
And this slide illustrates that perfectly. Just look at this comparison. For a tech company, which is capital light, meaning it doesn't need giant factories or tons of physical stuff, a 12% ROE might actually be a sign of underperformance. But for a big utility company that's capital intensive, think billions invested in power plants and grids, that exact same 12% ROE could be absolutely fantastic. See? Context.
So a single year's number is just a snapshot, right? It's one photo. To really get a feel for a company's health, you have to look at the trend over time. You need to read the blueprint of its performance, see the whole movie.
Take a look at this example. For years 1, 2, and 3, we see a company with a nice, steady, even improving ROE. That's a fantastic sign. But then, bam, look at year 4. A huge spike up to 35%, and then it settles back down. Now that spike tells you something. As an investor, you have to ask, what on earth happened in year 4? Was that a one-time fluke, or is it something more?
So this is what you're really looking for in that trend line. Consistency? That signals a reliable, stable business. Steady improvement? That suggests the company is growing and just getting better and better at what it does. But those sudden spikes or big drops, that's your cue to put on your detective hat and dig deeper. It could be a one-off gain, a big change in debt, or other risks you really need to get to the bottom of.
Okay, so we get it. A single number isn't enough, and we need to look at the trends. The next critical piece of the puzzle is benchmarking. A company doesn't exist in a bubble, so its ROE shouldn't be analyzed in one either.
And this is where the story gets crystal clear. Let's say your company has an 18% ROE. Now, based on our guidelines from earlier, that sounds pretty healthy. But look what happens when you compare it to its main competitor at 15% and the entire industry average of 14%. Suddenly, your company doesn't just look healthy, it looks like an absolute market leader. This is how you spot the true top performers.
All right, now it's time for some pro-level insight, because sometimes a high ROE can actually be a wolf in sheep's clothing. It can hide some serious underlying problems. So this next part is all about spotting those red flags so you don't get tricked by a number that just looks good on the surface.
This is where having a healthy dose of skepticism is your best friend. Remember, ROE is just net income divided by shareholder equity. A company can gain that number. They can buy back their own stock, which shrinks the equity part of that equation and artificially pumps up the result. Or even riskier, they can just take on a mountain of debt. That also boosts ROE, but it dramatically increases the company's risk profile.
So how do you check the quality? How do you see what's really going on? Well, the pros tool for this is something called the DuPont analysis. It sounds fancy, but it's a simple, brilliant idea. It breaks ROE down into 3 key parts. First, profitability. How much profit per sale? Second, asset efficiency. How good is the company at using its stuff to make sales? And third, financial leverage. How much is it relying on debt? This formula lets you see exactly where that ROE is coming from. And this right here is the whole point. What you want to see, what a high-quality ROE looks like, is one that's driven by awesome profitability and super efficient operations. If that number is just being propped up by a ton of debt, well, that's a major warning sign about whether it can last.
All right, we have covered a ton of ground. We know what ROE is, how to benchmark it, how to read its story, and what red flags to watch out for. So now, let's put it all together into a simple, actionable checklist so you can truly master this tool.
Here it is, your 5-step game plan. Step 1, always compare it against its peers. Step 2, break it down with the DuPont analysis to see the quality behind the number. 3, analyze the trend over several years to check for consistency. 4, never forget the business model context. And finally, step 5, assess the risks. If you follow these steps, you'll go from just seeing a number to gaining some true actionable insight.
If you take only one single thing away from this entire explainer, please let it be this. The ultimate rule of thumb is that a great ROE isn't just about how high the number is. It's about how that number was achieved and, most importantly of all, whether it's sustainable for the long haul.
And that leaves us with one final question to ask about your own portfolio. You have a powerful new tool in your toolkit now, so ask yourself, are your investments actually compounding your wealth for the long term, or are they just looking profitable on the surface? As we've seen, the real answer is always in the analysis.